Welcome back to Access Anime. I'm Henshin Ikeda, and today I'll be doing a walkthrough review of Fairy Tail episode 160. Now, if you remember from last episode, we're taken to the battle part of the first day of the Grand Magic Games, and it's got an interesting matchup in my opinion. We see Lucy from Fairy Tail Team A versus Flare from Raven Tail. It's a good matchup, girl on girl, it's perfectly evened out. But sadly, Flare is very psychotic, and she's got a poor-ass personality, in my opinion, but I love how psychotic she is. Now, she does end up cheating throughout the game, and she takes Asuka from Fairy Tail hostage with her hair. Now, eventually, Natsuo overhears everything and saves the day. But that doesn't really say much about Lucy, because she had her ass handed to her on a silver platter. And we finally get to see the build-up. We see her join up with Gemini. It was a perfect, joining up together, and an ultimate technique was about to happen. And then she ends up not using her ultimate technique and literally failing in general and stopping. And we're wondering why. Flare, she knew she was going to lose. The buildup was she was going to lose. Now she's wondering, how did she win? How did, Lucy lose? It's because of Obra. She's looking at Obra, and when she looks at Obra, she can know off the bat that he had something to do with her victory. So we know this fight, this matchup, was not fair at all. It was a butchered fight, and Lucy deserved to win. We at least deserve to see her ultimate technique, but sadly we do not. So the end result is Fairy Tail Team A loses and Raven Tail ends up winning. So that's the end result there. Moving on to the last part of the actual episode, we do see Natsuo jumping down to the arena and trying to comfort Lucy. And that's where the episode ends. And again, I'll hold my final thoughts, my rating at the end of the clip, so stay tuned. But let's dive right in. Now we open up this episode again with the second match, and we see Ren from Blue Pegasus and Arena from Mermaid Heel. So I'm interested to see where this fight was actually going, but I was actually very disappointed because we do see Ren. We find out a little information about him before we start. Now apparently he's engaged to Sherry from Lima Scale, but he denies being engaged, so I thought that was funny, but he loves being around Sherry, I guess. So I just thought that was hilarious. I had to point that out. Now we are taken to a different scene. Now we see Ren. He actually attacks first using aerial phase or phase, depending on how you want to pronounce it, because it's spelled out in the subtitles P-H-O-S-E. You want to say phase with an A, but there's no A, it's an O, so I have to call it aerial phase for now, unless you want to correct me. But let's go for it. I'm ready. No, I'm just kidding. Moving on. Anyways, he uses aerial phase or aerial phase, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And he uses, it looks like a Super Saiyan technique. He does the Kamehameha wave. He's all out and ready. It's like, wow. You could literally see it from the Dragon Ball series. He had it perfectly nailed down. Now moving on, we do see Ren is the clear-cut winner. Now, sadly, Arena, we didn't get to see her fight at all. She lost in general. She had her ass handed to her on a silver platter, just like Lucy. Wow, I was like, nothing is really fair in this damn game in general. I'm just saying, this battle was a ripoff. We didn't get to see anything, but sorry, I digress. Moving on, we do find out Blue Pegasus now has 14 points in the Grand Magic Games, and Mermaid Heel actually has 3 points, ironically. So they're almost close to dead last next to both Fairy Tail Team A and Fairy Tail Team B. Now moving on, we are taken to the third match of the Grand Magic Games for day 1. Now, it's Warcry from Quattro Cerberus versus Orga from Sabretooth. Now, this in my opinion was somewhat worth watching at the start, but I'm just putting that out there. It was worth at least seeing the matchup. Not so much watching the whole fight, end. Didn't really have the best ending in my opinion. It wasn't drawn out. It was a ripoff, but sorry, I digress. Moving on. Now we do see Rogue from Sabretooth bug out. He just walks out of the Grand Magic Games. He walks out because he doesn't want to watch this matchup because he doesn't care. Now we do find out he wants to fight Gajil from Fairy Tail. That's all he cares about. So okay, Rogue, we know where you're coming from. Shut up. We don't want to see you anymore. You're no longer here. Bug out. Go away. Moving on to the next scene. We actually see Warcry, and he's using tear magic. Now, again, I don't even like this character. He's not even well drawn out, so I don't like him already. Now, he's using something called tear magic. Now, from what I understand, the more he cries, the stronger he gets, and he was about to actually attack Orga, and then Orga uses his lightning technique and he wins off the bat. There wasn't even a fight. He had no chance. Orga for the win. That's all I can say. I was definitely stunned. I was like, wow, really? We're going to end it there? Now, apparently right now, Sabretooth has 20 points. Yeah, and Quattro Cerberus, they have 2 points. 1 point below Mermaid Heel. So, it's getting a little easier for Fairy Tail if they want to catch up. If they don't want to be in last place, either of them, doesn't take that much. Maybe 1 win if they're lucky, 2 wins. Just putting that out there. But moving on, we do find out, we see Orga, he's actually trying to leave the field or the arena, and he runs into Sting kind of in the stands. He's talking down to him, and Sting was very pissed off because he wanted to see this fight drawn out. He's like, well, that's all you got? You couldn't have just, took your time and gave us something to watch? And then we see Orga basically say, you want me to sing? Like, what? Get out of here. You're going to sing? Really? So he goes back to the arena and he starts singing. Now, in my opinion, he sucks as a singer, but I guess the crowd actually loves him because I know it's Sabretooth. They've won every year per se since the games, I guess, started or something like that. So they like him, and he sucks at singing. But sorry, I digress. Moving on. Now we are taken to the final match. By the way, the final match, in my opinion, was probably the best part of this episode because everything else sucked in general because we didn't get to see any of the other matches. So this fight was kind of worth seeing and then kind of not. I'll explain about that later. Now the matchup is simple. We see Fairy Tail from Team B versus Lima Scale in general. Now that would be Mystogen versus Jura. Now I hope I pronounced both names right, but it's really not Mystogen, it's Jalel, and it's for Jura. Now Jura is actually the 10th, well, he's one of the 10 Great Wizard Saints. Now technically Jalel used to be one as well. Now I don't know if he's still considered one or not, or if that's like a permanent title no one can take from him, but to me they're on equal playing fields. Now the judges bring up an interesting little point. Both Lima Scale and Fairy Tail were at one point in time of equal strength. Now I don't know if they're the same strength now, but that's what they were being compared to of the past of what they used to be. But moving on, we see a funny scene with Mavis. I just thought I'd point this out. Just bear with me, I wanted to point this out. Mavis, she is a ghost, and she wants to use the ladies' room. I was like, what? Get out of here. It was a good little laugh out loud scene though, be honest. Now we are taken to a different scene. We see Melody and Altair. They're watching the games from a distance, and they're praying that Jalel doesn't do anything too drastic to ruin the Grand Magic games. Like, he doesn't want to reveal himself, so they're praying that he doesn't reveal himself in the arena. Now we are taken to a different scene. Now we see Jura, and he's starting the matchup, I guess. He does Earth Magic, and I'm not really thrilled with his Earth Magic, so bear with me when I say it sucks. It sucks. Just putting that out there. It sucks. Now, I actually prefer watching Jalel over seeing Jura, only because Jalel's power is, he's borrowing it from Mystogen, so he's just copying something so no one knows so no one can recognize that it's Jalel playing. But eventually at the end of the matchup he uses his own magic, almost. But before I get to there, I'll just go over the magic he actually used. Now he uses something called the 5-layer magic circle, and then he says something about the sacred song, and it was amazing in my opinion. And then he does another technique on top of that, the 3-layer magic circle mirror water. Wow, that's all I can say. One after the next, and they're amazing. Now, they don't really do a lot of damage in my opinion, because we see Jura fight back using his Earth Magic, so, not a lot of damage there. But we do see Jalel use Meteor. That was definitely amazing. It caught Jura off guard just for a little bit, and then we see Jura use, like, Rock Wall, and that, to me, really wasn't that appealing, but it's a good defensive technique to have, I guess. But we get to see Jalel use the Grand Chariot. By the way, amazing. The graphics were amazing, at least to a point, and it was, at least for this episode, it was worth watching because I loved it. I enjoyed watching it. But we are taken to a different scene where we see Jura, and he knows he's coming up. He's putting 2 and 2 together because all these techniques are starting to look familiar. The attitude of Mystogen or Mystogen, however you want to say his name, is Jalel. He knows it's Jalel. He just knows. So it's like, okay, the cat's out of the bag, but he's not saying anything. And ironically, throughout this episode, when we do see Jura, he says, at least once he says, he wants Fairy Tail to win, but not during this matchup. He wants to win for his guild. So surprisingly, Lima Scale, at least Jura anyways, he wants to side with Fairy Tail, but just not during this matchup. But sorry, I digress. Moving on. Now, we do find out Jura, besides knowing it's Jalel in general, he uses, Jalel starts to use his next technique, which I was like, okay, there's another technique. But here's the catch, because I thought Jura was going to do something. No, Jalel's going to do the next attack yet again, but he's using his own magic and not Mystogen's magic, or Mystogen's magic, however you want to say his name. So now we're seeing his own technique about to be shown, and he's like, I'm sorry, Altair, and then you see the build up, the true heavenly body magic, well, I want to say karma, but it's not with a K and there's no A in it, but it's called surma. So it's an amazing technique. And he's up. There's the build up. And just when he's about to attack Jura, nope, it stops. That's it. It stops midair. Nothing happens. And we want to know why. We see Melody's little pink bracelet on Jalel, and it's like, oh my god, really? The whole little link bracelet thing? So apparently whatever Melody was going through, like whatever mood she was in, whatever was happening to her, was happening to Jalel. So we find out Altair does not want Jalel using his real magic, does not want to ruin his identity throughout the Grand Magic games, like to show himself off. So she screws around with Melody, and it's hilarious, giving her hot peppers. So now, Jalel is tasting hot peppers, tickling her and being perverted, and now you see Jalel laughing in the arena, and Jura, poor Jura, cannot take this seriously at all, because he's like, what's happening? It's like, what? And eventually Jalel kind of passes out to an extent, he like knocks himself out or something like that, and Jura ends up winning, and you're like, what? He doesn't even know he won, or even feels like he deserves to win because of what just took place. So we find out the end result, Jura does win, and we find out Fairy Tail Team B has 0 points now, and Lima Scale has 16 points. So they're pretty good, they're up there. So sadly that's where we're at. And again, Jalel finds out, he leaves the field and he has a bad taste in his mouth. He's like, I can't comment on what just happened. This is just so damn embarrassing. Now we are taken to a different scene with Carla. Now apparently she's having a precognition about something. She's having a precognition about Levy giving Lucy a letter, and she's calling it a prophecy. Now this prophecy per se was 7 days after the Grand Magic games, but we don't know anything about it. But she seems very, very worried, and you could tell by her expression that it's definitely something worth to be scared about, or to be worried about in general. Now again, we are taken to a different scene. It's the last scene of the episode. Now we do see Natsuo, he's ready for the next day, and we see Lucy, she's now back from the shower, and she's ready for the next day. So they're all hyped and psyched. And again, that's where the episode ends. Now as for final thoughts, well, first off, Carla, what's this precognition you had about this prophecy that Levy had in the letter that she gave to Lucy, or at least Levy had in general? I'm interested to know what it is and where it's going to go from there. Now, I'm still kind of interested to know more about this Captain of the Guards, because we did see him in this episode mention that this girl was ripened, or this person he was talking about is ripened. I still don't know really what he really means by that, but hopefully we'll find out soon. Now, I should also mention, Sabretooth, I still want to know where you're coming from, how you can be so laid back. Are you working with Zeref, or are you just that cocky and that good at what you do? Still don't really know. I'm just getting a weird feeling that Rogue, at least Rogue, not so much as Sting, but Rogue is hiding something, or he has something to prove, at least to Gadgil anyways. I'm just putting that out there. And again, that ends it for my final thoughts. As per my rating, okay, I'm going to be very blunt, so very blunt and very honest, 3.5 out of 5. We got screwed over with the fights, because they did not turn out the way we thought they were. The first two matches, at least in this episode we get to see, we didn't even get to see anything. It was just a cut and dried, end result. We didn't get to see anything. Now the last matchup, we did get to see what we wanted to see, but the ending was really not worth watching. I mean, really? Jalel definitely deserved to win. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Altair. Thanks a lot. That's all I can say. Now, as for emotion, I really was not feeling any emotion throughout this episode, except between Ren and Sherry, but that was an introduction of their emotions and their possible love, even though Ren does not look that, convinced. So I'm just putting that out there. So final rating, I'm going to go with a 3.5 out of 5. And again, that ends it for my walkthrough review of Fairy Tail episode 160. Definitely comment down below, thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe above. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know what you think's going to happen in the next episode coming up. And definitely check me out on Twitter and follow me if you like. But again, that ends it for now, and I definitely got to go. I've got at least 2 more walkthroughs and reviews to do today, so definitely stay tuned. But guys, I got to hit the bricks. I got to leave. I got to go, guys. So before I go, got to say it. Can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.